A lot of people have questions about the application process for coming to Korea, um, particularly surrounding um, getting your passport, getting your visa, and getting your criminal record check. Now, I'm from the United States, so the process is going to be slightly different than for those coming, say, from Canada or other countries. Um, just to get started, to get your passport, it's pretty straightforward. You go to City Hall or a branch of City Hall that processes passport applications. You go in there, you pay the fee, and they take your picture, and then they send it in and you wait for that to come back. Now in my case, I applied not only for my passport, which I have right here, my passport, but I also applied for a passport card right here that would go in your wallet. What it essentially is it's proof of the fact that your actual passport does exist and you have one, and it can in many cases be used for identification purposes. For the biggies, it's not going to. For immigration, to get your visa and things like that, it won't. But the reason I got it was because in the event that you lose your passport, the process of getting a new passport, especially if you're out of the country and you really need it, it can be a long process and it can be difficult. However, you can just go down to immigration, show them the card, and just reapply quickly for your new passport, and it'll just be issued for you. You don't have to go through the whole lengthy process of getting verification and why you're here and this and that to get your actual passport reissued. So that's up to you. I just happen to get it because I'm kind of that type of guy, always worrying about the little things. So, but it was good to have this in my pocket, just knowing that it was there in case my luggage was lost, or I put my bag down and somebody took it, or whatever might happen. Stranger things have happened. So that's the passport process. It's pretty straightforward, and it takes a few weeks, maybe a month or so, to get your passport back. The next one is your visa. Now, there are some different points for getting your visa. Before you can apply for your visa, you need to first receive your notice of appointment. Now, the EPIC notice of appointment is what I received. If you get one from a Hagwon, I'm not sure how that process works. I'm sure it's very similar. But you have to take that notice of appointment along with several other documents. And those documents are your notice of appointment, your contract, which you'll receive after you've been accepted, your passport, your actual passport, not a passport card, your visa application, 2 or 3 passport photos, your university transcripts, and your original diploma. Now, once you send those things in, once the consulate has finished processing them, they'll send the diploma and the passport back right away, or at least the passport back right away. Now, the reason why I say send it in is if you are teaching through the public school system, as I do, if you are teaching through EPIC, and this is for the United States, you do not have to go to the consulate in person for an interview. You just send those documents in, and they process your visa. In addition to all those documents, you obviously have to send the money, and that money, approximately $70 or $75, needs to be sent in certified check or money order form. They won't accept anything else. So that's kind of the process. You need to have your passport first, and then you need to send all those documents in with your passport to the consulate. Now, if you're teaching for a Hagwon, or something other than the public school system, I believe you still have to go to the consulate in person and go through the whole interview. Now for me, that saved me a lot of hassle because I live in South Florida and the nearest consulate is in Atlanta, Georgia for me, so that would have been kind of a pain in the butt. The last one, also a tedious process, your criminal record check, issued by none other than the FBI. And there are no exceptions to this rule. However, in your application, in light of your whole application process, to continue the process moving forward, they will at times accept state-level record checks for the states that you have resided in the history of your life. But when you get to Korea, you will need a criminal record check on the national level issued by the FBI. Now, that process for me was painful. I was going to come to Korea earlier than I came here. I started my application process kind of late in terms of that semester, the intake time. And my criminal record check took 12 weeks to receive. They tell you that it can take upwards of 12 weeks. Mine took 12 weeks. So by the time I received it, I was at the tail end of the process, the application process for getting into that particular time frame, and I still had to take my criminal record check and turn around and send it off to the state to have it apostilled. And that took an additional 2 or 3 weeks. So by that time I was at the tail end, and it's a first come, first serve process, and I didn't want to get stuck in a smaller area, a rural setting or anything like that. I definitely wanted to be in a larger city, Seoul or Busan or something like that. So I waited. And if a similar thing happens to you, keep in mind that that criminal record check is only valid for 6 months. When it came time to reapply, that 6-month window had elapsed. So I had to go through the process again, and it took 12 weeks to get. And then I had to have it apostilled. And that, to get your criminal record check and apostille and all that stuff is going to cost about $30–40 US. So those are things to keep in mind when you're going through your application process on the timing and everything. Don't drag your feet. Just jump on it and get that stuff done, because these are government agencies we're dealing with here to get this documentation. And the EPIC program does not take lightly verifying and validating who you are and who you have been. So they need some very serious documentation, and the departments that issue those things sometimes can drag their feet, as we all know so well. One other thing I wanted to touch on: if you are like me and anyone else on the planet, you do not want to pay taxes on the money that you earn. And the first 2 years of teaching, you do not have to pay taxes. The only way, however, that you can be exempt from paying taxes is if you provide the EPIC program with your residency certification. That comes from none other than the IRS. Now, the application form that you fill out for that is called the 8802, the application for U.S. residency certification, and you get a bunch of copies. It has your address and information on there that you can say, you know, I qualify to not pay taxes for 2 years on my money. So just keep all those things in mind. There's much more detail for all the other documents. I will not get into that because I'll be on here for 4 hours. But those are the 3 big ones. Those are the 3 hot ones that cause the most issues for people, and time delay, and it's a very difficult thing to gauge because the nature of the offices that you're dealing with, the time that they turn things varies greatly. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, just send me an email. I'll be glad to talk to you even more. Have a great one.